The world champion Baltimore Colts opened at home against the Jets, and both teams were missing their star quarterbacks. However, for the Colts, the loss was not as severe, for they proved to be better than ever in all phases of play. Their special teams were among the best last year, and number 46, rookie Lynn Dunlap, showed they're even better this year, as he returned this punt 57 yards. Then Earl Morrill to Ray Perkins set up a 1-yard plunge by Tom Matty, and the Colts were on the way. But while the Baltimore offense was good, the defense was quicker, tougher, and meaner than ever, as it held the Jets to 4 first downs passing and 2 rushing. But the real story of this game was Norm Bulash, who sprained his ankle on the first series of plays and then came back to break Alan Amici's club record, which was set in 1955 by rushing for 198 yards. Even the muddy, slippery field didn't seem to bother Bulash, as he went 67 yards on this play to wrap up the victory for Baltimore. Although it's early in the season, it's obvious that the Colts have an improved running game, that their defense is rougher than ever, and that after their 22-0 win over the Jets, they are the team to be reckoned with in the AFC East.
In Baltimore's Memorial Pit and part-time quagmire, light-footed Leroy Kelly and the Cleveland Browns showed no respect for the world champion Colts. Slick Colt receiver Eddie Hinton was received rudely by the Browns' Ben Davis and Mike Howell. And number 51, Dale Lindsey, reaped the fruit of their meeting and returned it to the Baltimore 6. From there, Leroy Kelly circled into the end zone behind picture book blocking. Last week against the Jets, Norm Bulash set a Colt rushing record, gaining 198 yards. But against the Browns and number 80, Turkey Jones, it was a different story. Number 35, Bo Scott and Leroy Kelly did not run wild, but they did what had to be done. And Kelly accounted for both Cleveland touchdowns. In the end, 2 mistakes almost cost Cleveland the game. Number 83, Ted Hendricks, blocked a Don Cockcroft punt, and the human bowling ball, number 48, Don Nottingham, turned it into a 6-point play. Near the end of the game, number 22, rookie Clarence Scott, left the Browns in precarious field position by intercepting a 4th and 17 pass at the Cleveland 6. But the Browns hung doggedly tough through the grim afternoon and won a 14-13 upset victory over the world champion Baltimore Colts, handing Nick Skorich his 2nd success in 2 tries as the new head coach in Cleveland. In 1970, a tired team named the Boston Patriots suffered through a disastrous season. Less than 1 year later, the New England Patriots had a new stadium, 3 straight sellouts, a win over Oakland, and confidence despite the presence of the Baltimore Colts. A change of scenery can do wonders. But despite all the positive factors in the Patriot Renaissance, reality has begun to replace the euphoria. After all, only last year the Colts were the best team in pro football, and the Patriots were the worst. Jim Plunkett, number 16, discovered things were getting tougher. Last week the Detroit Lions made life miserable. This week the Colts made it impossible. Like any rookie quarterback who accepts the pressure of a starter's role, Plunkett will be subjected to a few of the humbling experiences which are missing from a Heisman Trophy winning college career. Most Patriot fans feel that Plunkett will not have his spirit broken and he will be back. But on this afternoon, things got so bad that a blocked field goal turned out to be the biggest Patriot offensive threat of the day. Steve Kiner, number 57, toted the ball 32 yards, only to discover that a recovery of a blocked field goal cannot be advanced by the kicking team. On offense, the Colts decided to forego subtly and bludgeon the Patriots with their running game. Rookie Don Nottingham, number 48, replaced the injured Norm Boulash, and he fit right into the Baltimore running back mold. While Nottingham is the newest addition, Tom Matty is the prototype. Number 41 is not flashy, but unbeatable at controlling a game. Between them, Nottingham and Matty totaled 120 yards more than the entire Patriot offense. Both backs scored on short touchdown bursts, and Jim O'Brien kicked 3 field goals as the powerful Colts took over first place in the AFC East and deflated the Patriot balloon a bit more. Decisive Baltimore victory, 23-3.
Don McCafferty's Baltimore Colts won the Super Bowl in 1970 because of a great defense and a clutch offense. And against the Buffalo Bills, the Colts just couldn't have been any tougher. The agile young Giants on the Baltimore front line made life miserable for Buffalo quarterbacks as the Colts sacked them 9 times. With the front four applying tremendous pressure, the superb Colt linebackers were able to drop back to defend against the pass. This interception by Mike Curtis, number 32, set up a 1-yard touchdown plunge by Norm Boulash. Repeating the play in slow motion, we see that Dennis Shaw's pass was actually knocked off course when Shaw was buried by Billy Newsome, number 81. While Shaw spent most of the day on his back, the Colts' Earl Morrall was in Super Bowl form. This 30-yard shot to number 36, Norm Boulash, was the Colts' first touchdown pass of the year and gave the Colts a quick 14-0 lead. In the second quarter, one of the rarest calls in football occurred. With the ball on the Buffalo 3-yard line, number 12, Jimmy Harris, hit O.J. Simpson over the middle. But Buffalo was caught holding in the end zone, and the penalty gave the Colts the safety. On a repeat of the play, watch the right side of your screen as Paul Costa, number 79, holds the Colts' Bubba Smith, number 78. The pass to Simpson was wiped out by the penalty. The resulting safety made the score Baltimore 19, Buffalo nothing. In the third quarter, the Colts offense continued to roll. A reverse with number 33, Eddie Hinton, on the carrying end set up another Baltimore score. After the quarter change, the human bowling ball, Stumpy Don Nottingham, number 48, bowled over for another touchdown, and there was still plenty of power left in the Baltimore attack. Jim O'Brien added 2 field goals, and then John Unitas, number 19, entered the game and showed he has recovered from an Achilles tendon injury. Unitas hit number 84, Tom Mitchell, to set up the final Colt touchdown, a 3-yard run by Don McCauley, number 23. The 43-0 explosion kept winless Buffalo in last place and kept the powerful Colts in first place in the AFC East.
Baltimore entered Yankee Stadium last week with well-placed confidence. In the first 4 games of 1971, the Super Colts had outscored their opponents 101-17. Coach Don McCafferty had only to stay with a proven formula, while the New York Giants were forced to pull out all stops in an effort to halt their 3-game losing streak. Don Nottingham put the stopper on Dick Kotite, but New York's fake punt made Baltimore do an extremely un-Colt-like thing. The defense actually gave up a touchdown. Hurricane Francis Tarkington found just enough end zone to give the Giants a quick 7-0 lead and furnish New York fans with delusions of grandeur. But Baltimore guards its goal line with a passion. And although Tarkington's offense would flirt with success again, the Giants' scoring had ended. Number 56, Ray May, displayed some interesting moves for a linebacker, but the real offensive motto for 71 is just give it to Boo. Norm Bulash pounded over the Giant defense for 108 yards to take over as the leading rusher in the AFC. Norm was powerful as a rookie, but the big difference in the 71 model Bulash is quickness. Enough quickness to turn a simple flare pass into 6 points. Bulash scored twice. Jim O'Brien kicked his 11th field goal this season without a miss, and Baltimore's marauding defense made the sunny New York afternoon seem endless for Fran Tarkington. The Mad Stork, Ted Hendricks, tested his offensive style as he picked off 2 Tarkington passes. Then ex-Giant passer Earl Morrill, number 15, finished off the 31-7 route with 2 touchdown strikes to precise Ray Perkins. Just how good are the Super Colts? This week in Bloomington, the Minnesota Vikings are ready to find out.
Left is Hinton, right is Perkins. The draw play to Bulash. Bulash moving over the 50. Warren Bulash tripped up, going down to the 22-yard line of the Vikings. On 3rd down from the 35 of the Colts. Looking out of the flat. Bulash with the football, and look at him move. Bulash over the 50 into Viking territory, and can he run?
He has become some kind of player. I remember After the 1970 draft of Boulash in the first round, the late Vince Lombardi told Carol Rosenblum, the president of the Colts at the time, now the owner, his son is the president, "That's the kind of courageous pick you win championships with," Lombardi said. "You took a chance, it may pay off."
Right, on 2nd down and 8. Quazzo is buried. Bubba Smith. Big Bubba Smith and the Colts 23-yard line. Grimm to the right, Washington to the left, Quazzo back again. Quazzo buried again, and
Bubba did it again. He came in from another position this time, though.
And the final score is the Minnesota Vikings 10, the Baltimore Colts 3, and we'll return to Metropolitan Stadium in just a moment.
In their 6th game on a Monday night in Minnesota, however, the Colts learned what they had already known, that man does not live by bread alone. Boulash's running would not be enough to jail the Purple Gang, and neither Morrill nor Unitas could save them through the air. The Colts would have to improve their passing against teams with strong defenses.
Ancient Memorial Stadium wears a mantle of fog and mist like a comfortable old top coat. In the fall, Baltimore, Maryland seems perpetually shrouded in a chilling drizzle, and it's no secret these Colts are great mudders. Well, last week, the angry Pittsburgh Steelers were in to make mortal the Baltimore rushing game. The Colts were held to 74 yards on the ground, and Terry Bradshaw found the only way to fly with a 31-yard touchdown to Ronnie Shanklin. Bradshaw also scored twice himself on short runs. And with their master plan to stop Baltimore's bread-and-butter ground game, the Steelers sensed an upset. But the Colts crossed up the Steelers' scheme by resurrecting a memory and going up top. Baltimore's new wide receiver, wearing number 87, had a hauntingly familiar look for Colt fans. Willie Richardson was back in Baltimore after a couple of stops around the league, which had tarnished his magic image, but suddenly it seemed that not 1 week had passed. Here was Willie Richardson again playing the corner to perfection. Here was Willie Richardson again floating along 2 strides behind his defender. With 2 touchdowns and 100 yards, number 87 had returned, but he did not carry the Colts alone. Number 15, Earl Morrill, and number 27, Ray Perkins, proved the Colts could live without the big rush. Perkins managed 64 yards to set up the first Colts score, and he came back later with another post pattern for 60 more. Baltimore's passing game surpassed its rushing attack by 4 times, as the Colts prove they can win both ways. Despite the day-long drizzle, only one Baltimore fan and the Pittsburgh Steelers left Old Memorial Stadium disappointed as the Colts fashioned an impressive 34-21 victory to remain a half game behind the Miami Dolphins for leadership of the AFC East.
Fired for Perkins. He has the football. He's in the arms of Nettles, but he scrambles inside the 30-yard line. Jim Nettles finally dragging Perkins down. And Bubba Smith, they'll turn it loose. Gabriel going deep to Snow. Rick Polk picks it off. So now from the 24-yard line, Nottingham is in replacing Boulash. Morrill dropping deep, looking for Richardson. He has it. Willie Richardson at midfield.
Morrill loves to throw to Willie Richardson. He couldn't be more delighted that the Colts got him back. Richardson is a wise receiver.
5-yard line of the Rams. Matty on the trap block. Inside the 35 to the 31. Dave Elmendorf, Jim Purnell makes the stop.
He's doing much better out on the corner.
On 2nd and 10 from the 31. Morrow back rush hard. Willie Richardson. Gene Howard made the stop, and Richardson will be very close to the first down. Foot. Matty, motion left. Lou gets the call, and he breaks tackles down to the 10, inside the 10 to the 7.
Oh, has that young man got power.
Tremendous explosion, too, just as he broke through the line, had those knees up, turning quick.
Again on first down, the ball inside the 5. Matty on the quick trap. He's behind Ressler. Clint Ressler with a great block as Matty goes in for the touchdown.
Beautiful play.
You'll see the fake that he made to the outside to Boulash. Actually, you'll see Earl here fake out to the outside. That takes Jones to the outside. A quick trap coming on the inside. Number 62, Glenn Ressler, was the guy that came over and trapped again. Let's take another look at it from the end zone camera. Watch the fake. Here's Ressler blocking on Phil Olson. Great trap block. We say trap block because
as Gabriel barks the automatic. He came back in for the pitch-out block, and it's stacked up. Ted Hendricks. Ted Hendricks stacks it up. Morrow, 3 receivers out and set back Boulash over the middle. It goes to number 84, Mitchell. Fine shot as Isaiah Robertson made the tackle, but Mitchell gets the first down. Josephson runs into Ted Hendricks. Loss on the play of about 4 yards. Now the Colts roll into a zone. You can see at the top of your screen. Gabriel is wiped out by Freddie Miller. Back to the 11-yard line goes Roman Gabriel. Big Freddie Miller beating the block of Tom Mack. Smith drops the football. Hendricks has the football.
That's it.
Larry Smith fumbled the football. Hendricks picked it up. Has moved in for a go-ahead goal touchdown.
Game of mistakes.
Grinso Klein to the right. The attempt to Ellison batted down. Jim Bailey, number 79. Grinso is right, covered by Stoops. Snell is left. He's covered by Duncan. Klein, covered by Logan. Gabriel will go down. Freddie Miller. Big number 76, Freddie Miller, has made his second big key play of the night. Sitting up here talking. First down, the Baltimore Colts. Matty again, breaking loose. Matty inside the 25 to the 22. To be played. Nottingham leads the way for Matty. He's all alone.
They caught it right up the middle. The Rams were in a pressure-type defense. They brought everybody up. They split them with a quick trap up the middle.
Once again, the final score here in Baltimore. The Colts 24, the Rams 17.
The bright lights of national television lit the field for the Colts' 8th game against the leaders of the NFC West, the Rams. Los Angeles took a 10-7 lead into the second half. A textbook fake pitch and handoff to Tom Matty, the Colts' only score. Defense has been a way of life for both these teams, and it was defense that dominated play for most of the game. It was defense, too, that made the play that broke the game open. With the score tied, Larry Smith fumbled the ball into Ted Hendricks' hands, and the Colts took the lead in the fourth quarter. Mike Curtis had clubbed the ball loose for Hendricks, but Tom Matty hammered home victory for the Colts. Throughout the night, Matty had twisted and pulled yards from the Ram defense, and he iced the victory with a 23-yard scamper to give him nearly 100 for the game. It was a must-win for Baltimore against a team that has always given them trouble.
A record crowd of 63,947 sardined into Shea Stadium to root the beloved Jets over Baltimore. The Jets responded quickly as number 64, Chuck Hinton, raked the ball free from Earl Morrall. Number 57, John Little, recovered, and shortly thereafter, Bob Davis had the Jets on the board first with a quarterback sneak. With Earl Morrall unable to budge the Baltimore offense, the Colts called on Johnny Unitas. And the Jets' Jerry Philbin, Mark Lomas, and Larry Grantham called on John Unitas too. But the King Crab from Crab Cake Corners led the Colts to 2 third-period scores. Don Nottingham, the human bowling ball, struck for the first 6. And the garbage man, Tom Matty, collected seconds with this 10-yard sweep. Bob Davis rallied the Jets with a 37-yard play to Emerson Boozer. Then at the top of the 4th quarter, Davis hit Rich Castor with a 16-yard scoring pass. The Jets had ostensibly tied the score, but then the mad stork, Ted Hendricks, took a hand and batted down the Jets' extra point. Bobby Howfield then tried to pass to Al Atkinson, but there can be no advancement of a block placement and the ball was dead. Later, Davis skyhooked Castor 43 yards downfield, setting up another Howfield placement. But this one was spiked by Jerry Logan, and the Colts held on to win a shaky 14-13 victory. Perhaps the Colts were caught looking beyond the Jets to this week's meeting with the AFC Eastern leaders, the Miami Dolphins.
And then it rained in Miami. It was Unitas' first start of the year, but the confrontation between number 19 and number 12 became a confrontation of defense, as neither team could score more than 2 touchdowns. Unitas had looked good until he was injured in the 3rd quarter. What beat the Colts was their attempt and failure to bomb the Dolphins' deep zone. The difference on the scoreboard was provided by Garo Yepremian, and the Colts suffered their 3rd defeat in 10 games.
In Oakland, California, 2 pro football powers collided as the Raiders met the Baltimore Colts. The Colts were still smarting from a loss to Miami, but Coach Don McCafferty has been encouraged by the continued improvement of John Unitas. Unitas and number 36, Norm Boulash, led the Colts to the game's first score. In the first half alone, the powerful Boulash rumbled for 82 yards. Boulash's running set up the second Baltimore touchdown, a 10-yard smash by number 41, Tom Matty, and the Colts were off and running. Oakland tried to rally behind Darryl LaMonica's arm, but the Raiders were puzzled by the Colts' zone defense and were held to -1 yard passing in the first half. Interceptions like this one by number 21, Rick Volk, set up field goals by Jim O'Brien that ballooned the score to 30-0. The Raiders were frustrated as LaMonica rarely was able to penetrate the tough Baltimore defense. Oakland coach John Madden searched for a way to beat the Colts' sticky zone coverage, but the usually accurate Raider passing attack was intercepted 6 times. Oakland needed a miracle to win, and so trailing by 30 points, they summoned the miracle worker himself, Old George. Number 16, George Blanda, finally got Oakland moving in the 4th quarter as he twice connected with number 25, Fred Biletnikoff, for touchdown. Although he rallied the Raiders, George Blanda's magic wasn't enough to overcome an awesome Baltimore attack. Tough defense, the steadying hand of old pro John Unitas, and the devastating running of young Norm Bulash led the wave that washed Oakland away 37-14. The victory kept the Colts' playoff hopes alive as they marked time until a rematch with the Miami Dolphins. In Baltimore, the top and the bottom got together as the world champion Colts met the last place Buffalo Bills. As usual, Buffalo found its offense at the bottom of a pile as the Colt defense flexed its muscles. But the usually potent Colt attack was also ineffective in the first half as Baltimore scored no touchdowns and the normally accurate toe of Jim O'Brien misfired twice. At halftime, the score stood Buffalo nothing, Baltimore nothing. In the second half, the Colts began to gallop as number 19, John Unitas, unlimbered his passing arm. Unitas combined short passes to his receivers with the smashes of number 36, Norm Bulash, to rip through the Buffalo defense. Bulash scored the first Colt touchdown on a 1-yard dive, and then number 27, wide receiver Ray Perkins, provided a living example of the term glue-fingered receiver as he caught John Unitas' first touchdown pass of the year. Despite the presence of the Baltimore offensive stars, it was again the manhandling Colt defense that knocked the stuffing out of their opponent. Although this fight resulted in the ejection of Buffalo's Donnie Green and Baltimore's Ted Hendricks and Mike Curtis, it provided the emotional stimulus for the final Colts score. A fired-up Bubba Smith belted quarterback Dennis Shaw, and defensive end Billy Newsome, number 81, picked off the pass and gleefully romped in for the score. It's supposed to be illegal to slaughter Buffalo, but evidently that law doesn't hold true in the NFL. Final score, Baltimore 24, Buffalo nothing.
A proud tradition of pro football in Baltimore stretches across 4 NFL championships. An integral part of that tradition is Don Shula, who directed 4 division winners for the Colts. Now he's coach of the division-leading Miami Dolphins. Shula affects the Colt dynasty in a different way. Confronting Shula were 2 relics from his past, a bandy-legged old quarterback named John Unitas and a one-owner running back with plenty of mileage named Tom Matte. Shula had watched the 2 control a game before, and now he was the victim. The Colt time machine ground out 39 first-half plays to Miami 17, as Unitas mounted 2 9-minute drives and Matty culminated each for a 14-0 Colt advantage. Then the cold and calculating Colt defense took cue, and it quickly stretched its icy fingers to the heart of the Dolphin attack. Number 42, Paul Warfield, is a mercurial moment which must be captured to control the Dolphins. The Colts contained Miami's Quicksilver and then went after the Dolphins' Showbiz act. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid combined for only 17 first-half yards, as the Colts manhandled any running back without a blue jersey. A freelance runner, number 21, Jeremy Pivot, managed to pick up 2 tough yards. But the no-nonsense Baltimore boys were taking the fun out of everybody's game, and they went after Dolphin golden boy Bob Greasy to finalize their death grip. Greasy threw 2 fourth-quarter interceptions, the second to number 56, Ray May, as Baltimore vaulted back into the division lead with a 14-3 domination of the Dolphins. Already in 1971, Don Shula had watched his present team win 17-14 in Miami, and his former team now win 14-3 in Baltimore. Now both teams have clinched playoff berths, and perhaps the next chapter of the intriguing past and present of Don Shula will take place in the AFC Championship.
In Baltimore, everyone was all smiles. The Colts had already clinched the playoff spot, and they had little to fear from the New England Patriots in the last game of the regular season. But the proud Patriots came to play the last game the way they came to play the first, and the Colts were soon at a disadvantage. The well-known rookies, Plunkett and Bataha, combined for the game's first touchdown. The nimble crab, John Unitas, sought to awaken the napping Colts, only to fall prey himself to the Patriots. Number 76, David Rowe, interrupted this pass, and Steve Kiner intercepted to set up another scoring opportunity. But Charlie Gogolak's field goal attempt was kicked too low, and the Colts took over in New England territory. Baltimore appeared to have taken command of the game as Unitas drove toward the New England goal. But the Patriots stood their ground inside the 10, denying Baltimore a touchdown. The Patriot defense again thwarted the Colts when John Outlaw robbed a Unitas pass, streaked the sidelines, and the Patriots led 14-3. In the second half, Unitas hit Ed Hinton with 2 touchdowns of 13 and 31 yards, but the Colts were otherwise throttled. And late in the game, when Jim Plunkett and Randy Rabbit Bataha combined for an 88-yard impossible play against the Baltimore deep zone, the Patriots put this game with the rest of their happy memories of the 1971 season. For Big Bubba and the Colts, it was an annoying defeat. But the Colts' business for 1971 remains unfinished. And for the Colts as well as the Patriots and Brer Plunkett and Brer Rabbit, all is well that ends well.
As the Colts prepared for the playoffs, they reflected on their season. They had won with a 37-year-old journeyman and a 38-year-old legend. They had won with careful preparation and constant execution. They had won with their feet, their heads, and their bodies. They had won by running, blocking, passing, catching, kicking, and tackling. And they had won with Baltimore tradition at their side in every game. Thus, when the Colts came to Cleveland for the division playoffs, they had a score to settle with tradition. They had not beaten the Browns since the 1968 NFL Championship. And with Norm Boulash just a spectator, their task was made doubly difficult. But the Colts were used to pressure. They had lived with it and have lived up to it. And as they had done 2 weeks earlier against Miami, Baltimore played the perfect game. Again, the quick strikes from Unitas to his receivers. Again, superb blocking, this time for Don Nottingham, who scored 2 first-half touchdowns and ran for 90 yards. As the Colts offense again controlled the ball, and with it, the Browns' destiny. Defensively, the Colts cut off Cleveland's lifeline. Ahead by 14, they forced Nelson to pass often and made a furious attack on his attempt to do so. Rick Volk's second theft ended Cleveland's agony, the final act in the 20-3 victory. Cleveland would be the scene of the Colts' final victory of 1971. Their ultimate promise would not be delivered in their first game of 72. But the Colts will be back in Miami next year, back with a team young in years, ageless in desire. Back with a team ready to carry on a tradition that in 71 produced 11 victories and a #1 defense. Back with a team whose legacy is their past and their future.